Welcome everyone to this courageous conversation series we are convening as part of a larger project called The Girl Child and Her Long Walk to Freedom. We have two incredible speakers here. Hi, Amal. Hi, Esperende. And my colleague, Marie Rose, is going to be convening the conversation. My name is Emily Nielsen Jones, and I am the co-founder and co-author of this project, which began as a reading journey to walk in the shoes of the global girl child and become more lovingly and faithfully aware of the oldest oppression, which still lives large in our world today and is sanctioned by a whole web of religious and cultural beliefs and practices which continue to define and shame her and make her vulnerable to unspeakable inhumanities. Our speakers today will give us a window into their own girl child long walk story. Okay, be on mute, sorry. Before we dive into our conversation, we're gonna frame it with a short video, which we created and which we invite you to use and share widely. But before we listen to it, I'd like to invite you to center yourself and recall to your mind a girl child you know and love. I invite you to center into the source of your being. Breathe a few deep breaths in and out. And center into the ground of your being, which is like a golden thread, which has been nudging you and guiding you through your life journey. Rest for a moment at your source. And as you do, feel your connection with everyone on this call and with all living things. And again, hold that girl child you love in your heart. Without this love, we can't move any mountains. So now I invite you to listen to our short video and then we'll dive into the conversation.
Girl child, can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be?
Deep down, I've always believed in myself and known I'm just as good as anyone else. But lately, I notice that the world treats me differently because I'm a girl. From sunrise to sunset, my sisters and I do chores at home, while my brothers get to do whatever they want. And I see my mother carry the full burden of tending to our family. In church, they don't like when I ask questions, so I've learned to sit quietly. In the street, I see girls who walk in fear, as mothers warn their daughters not to give men the wrong idea. Everywhere I look, the world tells me I'm inferior, but this does not feel true. What's going on here?
Girl child, you are right to question.
Who? Do I know you?
I am your mother's mother and her mother's mother. I am the mother of all.
Then you must know why the world treats us this way. Please tell me, how did this come to be?
Well, it is complicated, and there are many overlapping theories, but we do know that these traditions were man-made long, long ago. It was not always like this. In the beginning, men and women walked side by side together, valued equally as hunters and gatherers. Eventually, we began to settle down. And around this time, we elevated the idea of property and the need to own land and control a workforce.
a world where girls can grow up and equally valued?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marie-Rose Woolman-Murphy, and I am the project director of the Girl Child Long Walk project. And we talked about having a brave world and a brave space, and this is why we're here, to have conversations that are needed so that we can figure out and think about the change and the structural change that we need nowadays. This is about the cost of silence. Our societies often raise girls to be pretty, obedient, and quiet, while women are conditioned to care for all, sacrifice themselves, and suffer in silence. What is the cost of silence for girls and women around the world, as silence and service are imposed and glorified? This is not just about our lives and our everyday lives, it's also about the work. And it's not just about the global south, it's about everywhere. There's an article that was written in a Harvard Business Review by this woman called Dina Genderman. And she says, to achieve professional success, people must voice opinions and advocate for their ideas. Granted, it's a problem if women are staying quiet. It's a problem if we're staying quiet as we are taught to be. Let me briefly introduce our speakers to you. And we are so proud to say that they are both Girl Child Long Walk Fellows, a fellowship that we started last year and that I just wrapped up, and we are so excited about it. Amal Sarah is pursuing a postgraduate degree in environmental science from Foreman Christian College. She works for the Women's Desk of the Diocese of Wewin, Church of Pakistan. She's based in Lahore, Pakistan. Esperande Bijiwimana works with We Will Speak Out South Africa. She's an advocate against sexual violence and a member of the FEFISA Survivors Network in South Africa and the Global Survivor Network. She's based in Pietermaritzburg, South Africa. And this is the wonderful thing about technology. We are coming from all over the world and we are able to speak about these issues and share our perspectives. At any rate, now without further ado, thank you for being here. And Amal, this is your turn.
Thank you, Marie-Rose and the Girl Child team. I'm so thankful and feel privileged to be here with you all. And the thing, when I first listened to the phrase cost of silence, the very first thing that popped up into my mind was that it takes a lifetime and beyond to repay the cost of silence. Life stops at the what ifs, and we get stuck in the dooms of depression, anxiety, fear, reprimanding ourselves, blaming others, and ultimately calling it and accepting it as our fate, or even putting everything on God, calling it His will. And it is just like blaming God for everything when you can't speak in the first place. So, while talking about the context of women and girls in Pakistan, since I'm representing Pakistan, the cost of silence here, women pay a very huge price. Because there are so many things, so many reasons, so many expectations the society holds for the women and girls in Pakistan. And the very first point that I would like to put in front of you is the honor and shame culture. Because as soon as a girl is born, she is handed over a flow chart of do's and don'ts. And even if that girl deviates a little bit from that flow chart, she is labelized, she's stigmatized, she is, blamed for different things, and she's stereotyped. She is called disobedient. She is considered a source of bringing dishonor to the family. So it becomes very difficult for young girls to, accept all these things and see. When we talk about education, family situations in Pakistan are made as a justification for not imparting education to their daughters. They bring all sorts of reasons that this is why we were not able to afford the fee of our girl. That's why she wasn't able to study further. And this is not the case for everyone, because since the literacy rate of Pakistan currently is 47% for women, and I am among those 47%. My parents have done everything they could and prioritized my education over anything. And this is the case for many other girls as well. We cannot generalize, but most of the women, they face oppression. They face so many problems and they do not utter a single word. And in other ways, that framework of do's and don'ts, it also includes of not choosing a partner for a girl to marry. That has also to be decided by the male members of the family. She cannot even decide that on her own. So fighting for the rights of education is far-fetched, because first of all, expressing oneself is not even granted here. Simply, I would say that women are generalized, or I would say generalized, to stick to the household chores, doing all the kitchen stuff, because metaphorically, I would say that women are born in the kitchen, they grow up in the kitchen, they die in the kitchen. All their desires, their dreams, everything, it gets cooked on the flame, very nicely garnished, and presented with served with obedience for the rest of their lives. And this pattern goes and goes on. Now, this is the problem. I would not only say that this is in Pakistan, it is a similar situation in the rest of the world as well. But what happens in Pakistan that we are stuck into the honor versus dishonor debate, shame versus honor debate, all these things, and they suppress the freedom of a young girl or a woman in Pakistan. Now, when we talk about the education, as I already told you, it is justified by different reasons from the family. And according to a report by UNICEF, 58% of the women in Sindh and Balochistan are very remote provinces of Pakistan. And in Sindh, only 58% of the girls are out of school. 78% of them in Balochistan are out of school. And when the girls, they go up to the lower secondary school, their dropout rate increases. Why? Because many of them accompany their mothers as housemaids and go to work as domestic helpers. And the other problems come along. So I would like to now emphasize more on the impacts. What these problems, suppression, suffocating environment, getting away from education, dropout rates, and all these problems in which the health is also affected. And when we talk about health, this is one of the impact. Individuality and identity of a girl is lost. Her confidence is shattered, and health is compromised. Women do not speak up about their reproductive problems because the word reproduction is, has become a taboo to talk about openly in Pakistani culture. And because of this, women show reluctance for early screening for problems like breast cancer, cervical cancer. And I would like to share that in Asia, Pakistan has got the biggest number of breast cancer patients. And in 2020, according to World Health Organization, in 2020, 26,000 women were diagnosed with breast cancer, and out of them, 13,500 died because they did not go to a doctor, they did not go for any treatment. And in Pakistan, 68.6 million women are currently on the risk of getting affected by the cervical cancer, out of which 5,008 are diagnosed and 3,197 have died. And you can just imagine that the world, which is so advanced in health, Pakistan is in this century the women are facing such problems on health issues because they remain silent. And these problems come along. They're fighting for education, everything goes away because they cannot speak. And even the girls are forced into prostitution because in the first place, when they are not literate, illiteracy gives birth to poverty, and poverty is the mother of all evils. So what happens is that these girls are forced into prostitution, not just by their stepfathers or stepmothers, but by their own real mothers. Because when poverty comes in, everything goes out of the window. So they have to work by selling their bodies, they bring money home. And then all these women, they become victims of domestic abuse because when they cannot financially, they are not financially independent, they are not literate, they are not skilled, these women becomes victims of domestic abuse. Now I would like to request Sonia to please share the presentation. And before the presentation, I would like to share that since I work in the Women Development Services Office of the Raivan Diocese, so I would just like to share some of the solutions as a motivation for you all that we can all do our bit in providing some safe space to our women. Sonia, can you please do next slide? Okay. This is our mission. Actually, Women Development Services Office is working in the diocese since 1989. And in all these 32 years, we have been working for empowerment of women without any discrimination on the basis of gender, caste, creed, or anything, or any occupation or nationality. We are working for women to live in peace and harmony. Please, next. Now, this is an interesting story because I would like to share not the story of 32 years, but from year 2000. Some of the female sex workers who belong to a Christian community in Pakistan, they came to our bishop and said that we do not want our daughters to get this trouble in which we are living. So do something for us. And you know, when the church started to work for these women, even the own priest of the diocese said that these are sinner women. What has happened to you? Have you gone mad? You are bringing them into the vicinity of church. You are working for these ladies. There were life threats. There was so much, but struggles continued. And because of the home visitations, counseling, women were taken out of prostitution. Their girls were given education, vocational classes were set up for them, a rehabilitation was set up for them, which started 2 trainings at start, vocational training and midwifery training. And now in 2019, we started a training for clinical assistant for males as well, because we are saving households, not just women. And please, next. The objectives of this training is to make males and females financially independent. As I mentioned before, that poverty is the mother of all evils. So we are committed to end poverty, which is also the Sustainable Development Goal #1. So we are working to eradicate poverty by offering these trainings. Next. This is the process. It is a 1.5 year training. And then after we gave a token of earning to these males and females who do not get opportunities to get an honorable income. And this is the number of beneficiaries which you can see. And this is a very successful and a positive contribution it plays in the lives of people. Next. These are some of the pictures from the graduation ceremony we have recently. Next. Okay, this is one inspiration person graduate from our Rehabilitation Center, whose story will definitely inspire you. Please, Sonia, play that.
इस्लाम, मेरा नाम रुबीना है, लेकिन अब मेरा नाम स्टाफ रुबीना बशीर है। और मेरी लाइफ की हिस्ट्री कुछ इस तरह से है कि मैं बीए करने के बाद फ्री हुई तो मेरी मदर ने मेरी शादी कर दी। तो वो शादी उन्होंने कर दी क्योंकि लड़का बाहर था, उन्हें यही लगा कि मैं पढ़ी लिखी हूँ, बाहर मतलब सिटी में जाऊंगी तो अपने आप को प्रमोट कर लूंगी, कामयाब हो जाऊंगी। लेकिन उनकी जो फैमिली थी वो इस तरह से थी कि वो ये जॉब वगैरह को लाइक नहीं करते थे। और जिस लड़के से मेरी शादी हुई वो ऑलरेडी मैरिड थे, तो मुझे भी नहीं पता था, मेरी फैमिली को भी नहीं पता था, क्योंकि ये अरेंज मैरिज थी। हमारी फैमिली में ऐसा नहीं होता कि पहले से बात शायद की जाए। तो शादी के बाद मुझे पता चला कि उन्होंने बाहर शादी की हुई है। तो हाँ, पहले 1-1.5 साल तक मैंने अपनी फैमिली को नहीं बताया, लेकिन वक्त के साथ क्योंकि कुछ भी नहीं था, वो बाहर थे और वो कहते थे मैं 5 साल तक आऊंगा नहीं, तो फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता मेरे फादर भी नहीं है तो मैंने अपनी अम्मी को बताया ये सारा कुछ। उसके बाद इस तरह के मसाइल बन गए कि वो मुझे कहते थे कि सिर्फ मेरे घर वालों को संभालोगी आप, और मैं अपनी जिंदगी यहाँ पे गुजार रहा हूँ। और मैं जब उनके घर से घर आ गई तो मैं बहुत ही ज्यादा होपलेस हो चुकी थी। मुझे लगता था कि मेरी जिंदगी बिल्कुल खत्म हो चुकी है। मुझे ये लगता था कि हमारे जो मजहब है या हमारा खानदान है, इसमें शादी एक दफा ही होती है, उसके बाद बस लड़की की जिंदगी खत्म हो जाती है। लेकिन खुदावन का प्लान कुछ और था, क्योंकि मैं जिस खुदा को मानती हूँ उसके प्लान के मुताबिक यही होना था। तो फिर मुझे जब मैं घर आ गई तो घर में बिल्कुल होपलेस थी। मैं सारा दिन पड़ी रहती थी, मेरी मदर बहुत परेशान रहती थी। फिर मेरी अम्मी ने मुझे प्रमोट किया, उन्होंने मुझे समझाया कि बेटा तुम पढ़ी लिखी हो, बाहर निकलो। तो फिर रिसेंटली मुझे रिहैबिलिटेशन सेंटर के बारे में पता चला। अब मैं एक स्टाफ हूँ और खुदावंद का शुक्र है, ये ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद मैंने जॉब की। मुझे 1 साल हो गया है जॉब करते हुए, और उस जॉब से अर्निंग करके मैंने खुद अपनी बाइक ली और अब मैं बाइक पे आती जाती हूँ। मैं आईसीयू में भी काम करती हूँ, उसके बाद मैं नर्सरी रूम में काम करती हूँ, न्यू बेबी बॉर्न की मैं आई भी करती हूँ, और एक ही ब्रिक में। खुदावन का बहुत शुक्र है, ईआई में भी, और उसके बाद फ्लोर पे भी मैं काम करती हूँ। और अब मैं अपना मैसेज जो है चाहती हूँ कि दूसरों तक भी पहुंचे, कि जिस तरह मेरी जिंदगी में खुदावन यीशु नासरी ने काम किया और मैं ऐसे उड़ रही हूँ, तो मैं चाहती हूँ कि दूसरी जो मेरी बहनें हैं जिनकी जिंदगी में मसाइल क्रिएट हो जाती हैं, तो वो होपलेस होके खुदावन से दूर हो जाती हैं, क्योंकि कलाम इक़दस फरमाता है कि दुनिया का नूर मैं हूँ। तो जब हम नूर के पास जाएंगे तो हमें रोशनी मिलेगी। तो मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो मेरी बाकी सिस्टर्स हैं, अब देखिए मेरी जिंदगी में क्या हुआ और मैंने क्या किया। अब आप इस बात को ले लीजिए कि मैंने इस ट्रेनिंग के बाद अर्निंग शुरू कर दी। अर्निंग से मैंने बाइक खरीदी, और अब जो मेरे साथ फीमेल्स होती हैं, बहुत दफा उनकी फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं, कोई छोड़ने वाला नहीं होता, कोई लेने वाला नहीं होता, तो मेरे साथ 3-3 लड़कियां पीछे बैठ के आती हैं। और आपको पता है कि लोग खड़े हो के अपनी प्राउडर्स वगैरह खड़ी करके नीचे उतर के मुझे जो है अप्रिशिएट करते हैं, और वो ये पूछते हैं कि आपने कहाँ से सीखा ये सब कुछ। और मैं समझती हूँ ये सब मेरे खुदावंद यीशु मसीह का जलाल है, मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं।
Apart from imparting midwifery training, we are also offering vocational training. This is a token of earning for those women who are illiterate but are low skilled. We give them skill training to sell these handmade products that you can see in the market, and give them a chance to explore themselves and support their families. Next. As I told you that women in Pakistan, they are, they do not have medical facilities and they do not speak about them. So we go to them and we give them these facilities, which you can see here. Next, please. Also, we empower them through community capacity building programs to give them a free space to explore. Next. And we also give them education support opportunities by providing books, stationery, uniforms to support the education of females. Next. The reason why we do this, by providing skill trainings, we break the chains of exploitation and abuse, and women become financially independent. They are able to afford the academic expenses of their children. They break the societal barriers, the patriarchal standards that do not let them go out and explore themselves and support themselves and their families. And by acquiring education, girls become a support for themselves. They transform generations. And by medical outreach, we maximize their chances of survival, giving them a hope for a healthy life. Otherwise, if we don't do this, we do not speak up, they become victims of domestic abuse, forced prostitution. They work as domestic helpers and give rise to sexual harassment and exploitation, which definitely leads them to get into hands of human trafficking, forced conversions, rapes, and brutal killings. Please stop screen sharing. So these are the problems that we do face, but there is always a hope. And in my concluding message, I would like to say that we need to break the silence, because even a sick person would die if he does not tell the doctor what I am feeling. And he would ultimately die. If he will tell the doctor I am sick, the doctor will definitely treat him and his life will be changed. Cost of silence is very traumatic. And labels are very heavier to live a life freely. So I would encourage you all to, we get examples from Bible, and be like Moses, I would say. Be like Moses who spoke, and the Israelites were liberated from the slavery of Egyptians. Be like Queen Esther, who spoke up for her people and saved the Jews from getting killed. Be like the Hebrew slave girl who spoke up, and Naaman the Syrian was healed by Prophet Elisha. Nehemiah, be like Nehemiah, who spoke up and rebuilt the city of Jerusalem. Be like the Samaritan woman who came in search of water, and she got the water for life. Even knowing that Jesus knows about her past, she did not remain silent. She spoke up, she talked to Jesus, and her life changed. So I would like to share my message that break the silence, because the cost of silence is heavier. God bless you all. Thank you.
Amal, thank you for your wonderful presentation. Thank you for your passion, your commitment, your leadership.
Thank you, Miriam.
And I think it's wonderful to see you in action, faith in action.
Yeah.
At any rate, now, without further ado, I want to welcome Esperende. Amal talked about the experience and the cost of silence, and she talked about it in terms of what can we do in terms of as an organization, from an organizational perspective. I want to pass it on to Esperende, who's going to talk about her experience, what the cost of silence has been to her and what can be done. Esperende, here's to you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. In South Africa, we are in afternoon. Yeah, the cost of silence for women and girls, it costs them their lives. They pay huge price when we keep quiet. We don't talk about abuse in our community or in our churches, inequality in our system, education, which my colleague mentioned everywhere. So it's something we found everywhere. So as myself, I just choose to share what really was the cause of silence in my family, in my community, in the church. What was really the cause of silence on me? They just bring a conversation home as a human being, not in writing, just alive, have that conversation. So as I grew up, by the way, in Burundi, where we have a lot of walls, where a lot of distractions there and there. So when I become one of those survivors, I knew I was aware what will be the cost. So when I was raped in a conflict, I knew that automatically I become an eligible woman. That means society will see me as not a woman who can get married, you know, and then the stigma we roam around, feel like I'm no more good enough in anything. Why? Because no one ever said that being raped in a war or in anyhow, it's actually a crime, you know, and me too, I accept that it's my fault for quite millions years, you know, many years, grow up, finish high school, go to university, just looking for the justice, but there was no justice in a society. So I just found my own justice where I said, let's I move to South Africa where no one knows me. That means I will be quiet, whatever happened, I will start afresh, you know. That was a solution, which was an unhealthy solution because of my society, my church, everyone is quiet about it. They were aware what's happening, by the way, but there is a huge stigma of expectations, how the woman is supposed to be, you know, what's a good wife or good woman is supposed to be. So I found myself in that side of the story where I'm not good enough at all. When I come in South Africa, I just go for training, seminar training, just to find God. As my colleague was saying that we blame God when we don't speak out. When things goes wrong, we blame God. Me too, I go to church to find healing. But I discover actually the church also is not there to say anything about the survivors, where they go through. Even if you are a survivor of domestic violence, they just cover it because they feel like, you know, you was looking for it, you know. And then there is a stigma. There is a lot of stuff happening there. And everyone just go through depression, a survivor I meet. So when I was in the church and being educated myself, I just said, no, you know what? I need to test this breaking silence. So I asked a woman, who is a survivor? So I end up having many of them in South Africa. And we have a wonderful network of survivors where we're able to share our journey. But it was surprising that when we come to the church to tell them we are this and that, everyone was scared, feel like there's a scandal going to happen to us. And they said, no, it's just going to share what happened to us, to educate other women. But that was denied, you know, because of what the tradition and what kind of theology there is preaching in the church, you know. And then some of women died in silence, you know, depression. They cannot speak out. They're not more good enough. And their vision died in the process, you know. But when I learned to break silence and I said, no, I need to share my story. That's where I found my healing. You know, I was able to find my healing through other survivors, you know, and feel happy. And the challenge of the system was there. That's the reason sometimes I believe you cannot change the past, you know, but you can change your future. That's what I feel. And that's what I do every day. So when I started to believe that I cannot change the past, but I cannot change the future. I cannot change what happened to me, but my children and my grandchildren, we live in a free society, free of sexual gender-based violence, you know. So I feel like women, not women only, and men in the household, in the church, and everywhere you are, just be conscious. Amplify the voice of girls outside there. Because of stigma, they don't speak out because they know, most of women, they know when they speak out, what's going to happen to them. You know, like in South Africa and in my purpose network where I am, you know, most of women get beaten, abused because inequality. They cannot access economic freedom. They must depend to this person who abusing her, you know, because it doesn't see any solution. But me and you, if you are able to speak out and say, actually, let's amplify your voice. You can do something. And just by speaking out to one person, you are changing the whole community and the whole society, you know. And also, by wherever you are in your office, be conscious that every woman or girl will never come to you and say, oh, I'm abused. I don't have ABC, because he knows that what is inequality in our society about women, or even the church, there is inequality, always challenging the church. Why women are just in the Sunday school in most of the churches? It's because as women we cannot preach? No, it's because we are told that the only things we can do is just to be in a Sunday school. We belong to be wives. We cannot be a good preachers. And then we believe into it. It's a tradition. It has been like that for years and years. For me, I was feel like I will encourage you that what can be done wherever you are. You don't need to be in organization or in this big company. No, where you are in your family, in your church, in your street, just speak positive things about women. What can be in the church? You know, just say women can be you can see a woman and say you can be a good preacher. Go for it, girl. And that will be enough, because that's what happened to me. One I say, you look beautiful, you know, you can read the woman. And I said, are you sure? Yes. And I did it for quite many years. You know, you need that kind of encouragement. You need to go back in our own offices and just speak life, you know. Speak life to the people, because people are dying in silence. And if you are not speaking out, means that you are part of, also you are a killer. Sorry to use that word, but I feel like it's time that we take responsibility. You don't need to be a preacher. You don't need to be wherever you are. Give hope to the girls outside there. Help them to find their own vision, which was a silence in the past. That's what you will be doing if you break silence in a different kind of oppression which is happening in our society, you know. So being part of organization, for sure, it gives you a power, use it. But I feel like just when you see a certain woman say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? How was your day? That's we give her a hope, you know. So what can be done? I already said it. Break silence. Give hope to the community, to the church. Speak out when you see injustice. Don't be part of the system of a patriarchy which builds injustice. No, wherever you are, support the voice of those who are marginalized. There are so many in our society. In education, just be curious. Look in your school, in your community, how many women are there or are dropping out because of teenager pregnancy, like in South Africa? Why 10 years old is getting pregnant in South Africa? Why? Ask a simple question like that. Be curious to know. And then you will find the answer. Those are kids, they look like kids, but they know the truth. If you give them the opportunity, they are 10 years old, dropping out, being pregnant. That's what we see. That's what I see every day. And it's paining me. But I believe if you can ask what's going on, how a 10 years old started to be pregnant, by the way, what happened? Question it. And go to the policies and ask who did this, why he did it. And then have those kind of conversation and just give hope to this child. Don't blame, because the problem you start to say, oh, what you was addressing, where, you know, that is where you were, what dress code you was wearing, you know, those kind of judgmental attitude, which we get it from our tradition, we get it from our churches, our cultures, and it's still leading us today, you know. So I want to just encourage everyone, and especially you who are here, just to be curious, ask a question. Those young kids, especially in South Africa, 10 years, who are pregnant, what's going on? What happened? And just give them hope. If you can, take a journey with them. Be their hero. Then we take a step and stand and have a life like any children in this world. So speak out, amplify the voice of oppressed. I'm not saying it, just speak them on their behalf. Amplify their voice. They have a voice. They are only silenced. They have a voice. Support them, amplify their voice, and then they will found their vision. And then we found what God created them to be. You know, it's us who silence them and oppress them. Be the change the world wants to see. There is a change you want to see in the world. Start practicing it. Thank you so much. I think my time is up. God bless you and have a wonderful afternoon.
Esperende, thank you for sharing your experience, your wisdom, and your love that comes through, because you want to be the change and you want to break the cycle of violence. And we can all make a difference. And it doesn't have to be big, it can be small. And that is the message that I think we need to take in. No matter how small what we do, to remember that kindness can heal and can make a difference. And that we should not be silent in the face of injustice. Thank you all for being there, for listening to our amazing speakers, our amazing fellows. I want to take a minute to just thank, just not just the fellows, but the participants, but to thank, the Girl Child team, and to Emily and Dominic, the people who have given us this wonderful program. Take the time to find out more about us. We have a few minutes left, and for questions and comments, I see several questions and comments in actually several comments. I think it's wonderful. There is a question that I can address to both of you. Do you find other women willing to discuss this issue and work towards freedom for women? That is from Dawn Hartman. So, Esperende and Amal, would you like to address that? Should I repeat it? Do you find okay? Do you find other women willing to discuss this issue? And I have the feeling it's because we're talking about sexual violence, but it can be applied to you too, Amal, and work toward freedom for women. So are women supportive? Are we as women supportive of other women?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mary Rose. I would like to answer this, and I saw another question by Dr. Patrick for me when I just finished my presentation. So I would merge these two questions and give an answer. First of all, see, everyone who is suffering wants a voice, because everyone wants to be heard. So there are women who, definitely are willing to discuss this issue. But the reason is, if I talk about Pakistan, there are no platforms like this. There are NGOs, there are church organizations or other, things that are working for women's rights. But see, the women who comes in front, they definitely are willing to express, but there is an irony. There is an irony that, I'm sorry, but the women play a very, women cards in Pakistan. They do not speak for the rights of the women living in far-flung villages. They would speak about the issues that would satisfy their own egos or interests. So there are two types of groups working in Pakistan. Women who are actually working for the women who need their time and attention, and those women who just play a women card and do all sorts of things that, is not beneficial for the society. So there is an irony, but definitely a person who is oppressed wants to be heard, and they definitely are willing to work. The second thing Dr. Patrick asked was that, are there any, sorry, I just have to go back to the question so that I do not miss.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, you asked about the other Christian communities in our country working. So I would like to share that we are 8 dioceses in total in the Church of Pakistan, and we all have women desks. And in our own capacities, we are working in our regions for the empowerment of women, and not just the diocese. Women at the church levels, in the fellowship groups, they are definitely working in their own small capacities to create a difference. Work for the empowerment and for the marginalized women. But then you had a question, what possibilities exist for partnership between Islam and Christian? So I would like to share another important example. Our bishop, who is also the moderator of Church of Pakistan, he is working to eradicate the nuisance that has started to, surge in Pakistan, that is forced conversions to Islam and forced marriages. He is advocating on these issues, and he has even, filed a petition in order to make steps to eradicate this problem from within the Christian community in Pakistan. So the Muslim clerics, the Sikhs, since we are 4 main communities in Pakistan, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs. And so we are all together working in some way. I would not say that it has created a very big difference. No, this is not the case. I would not sugarcoat anything. But yes, we are trying our best to minimize this problem from our country and to work together for the rights. Yeah, I hope I was able to answer.
Thank you, Amal. Esperende. So a woman supportive of other women when you're bringing up these issues, or other women supportive?
In my experience, I have been working with many communities, many countries in Africa, and I'm a part of SEMA Global Survivor Network, very active. I can just assure you that when a woman is empowered, it can do anything. They are ready to speak out. They are ready to pick up pieces and fly high. So that's what I can say. Where woman is well empowered, because sometimes we misunderstand what it means to be empowered. That's another definition maybe we can look for next time. But women being empowered, it means it's given a platform to exercise what is in her heart. What she wants, because the society, the patriarchy is already finished to feed us, what we need, until women doesn't know what they need, So it's only by allowing women to take a journey of healing and be given a platform, empower themselves. They read, they change communities, they change institutions. I have been seeing many survivors who go back to school after dropping their primary school, and they go back when they are 30s, and now they are finishing universities. Many of them, because they believe in themselves, they were given a platform. You can do it. You don't need anyone to take your hand. I mean, yes, the man is leading the world everywhere in Africa where I am, but I have been seeing also women when they are given a platform and allowed, or fight for their platform, because sometimes we fight for our own platform, and we did, and they speak out, and they challenge the system which is oppressive. Yeah, thank you, Rose.
Thank you. Amal Esperende, we cannot thank you enough for coming and sharing with us, not just your work, but your beliefs and your passion. And the fact that, every one of us, men and women, should work together in order to make sure that we support, others who are kept silent. At this stage of the game, amazingly, we have 5 more minutes. I am not sure. Let me make sure that there isn't like a question. Just to let you know, we please, for those of you who are not familiar with our program and our project and what we do, we work in the intersectional space of faith, community-led development, and gender equality. And we believe that we should all work together to make the world a better place for girls, for women, but also for our boys and for our men, the men in our societies and our lives. A last word, anyone? Esperende, Amal?
I just want to say that thank you for this opportunity, and I would encourage everyone not to remain quiet and just speak up. So that your lives are transformed. Because
I want just you
yes,
can go
please.
on, Anna. Yes,
No,
I want
sure.
just to say in the end of our conversation that say, as women who live in fear, don't allow to be isolated. Just go together as a group. We found courage. You will find energy to move where you are. That's only just way to go. Isolation kill you, give you depression. But there is women outside there who are waiting you to take a journey with you. Thank you. And thank you for giving us this opportunity just to share our mind and just our happiness. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Emily, Dominic?
Yes, let me just chime in and with my gratitude, Esperende and Amal, your joy, your bravery is just animating all of us, and we leave really inspired to do this work. And I just want to underline that the honor shame culture that Amal and Esperende are describing exists everywhere. And in our fellowship, we use words for God, the divine, the sacred, that show us the divine as in the feminine. I have a book right here, the author's on it, called Sophia Rising. And in your words, I hear Sophia Rising, and we all are leaving this call just inspired to do this work. Our girls need us, the next generation of girls and boys need us to do this work. Our religious traditions, that we can't move forward as a society without faith on board for unambiguous human equality across all lines of division. So thank you all for being here. Dominic, I see you're on the call. Do you want to just wave? I know he was on the call.
Thank you everyone for sharing and coming, and we really appreciate your participation, your voices, and we hope that you will continue to be there and speaking up.
Join us.
Join us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.